to welcome Anssi here. Today we are going to talk about the knives he makes. He's a famed knife maker who makes traditional knives, Finnish knives, which are very beautiful. I'm honored to have one of his knives, which is here. I'm going to put the link to this because I made a video about this knife on our channel, so you can go and see it he made. But first of all, let me welcome Anssi to our channel. Welcome back, Anssi.
Thank you, Manoj.
Okay, Anssi. So knife making, I mean, you really, as you know that I have been working for different museums and I've written many books, and my job is also that I analyze different bladed weapons. And the first time I had one of your knives in my hand, the first thing you know, and you realize how well made they are. Really, I need to say this, and I'm not just saying as a lip service, I really mean it. Anssi makes excellent knives, right? So let me just go back to Anssi and I ask him, Anssi, when did you start to make your first knife?
Well, I started in 1993. We had a summer cottage where we did many things from wood and whittled and stuff like that. And we had a lot of knives with the plastic handles. And I started to look at them. I said, they didn't look very nice. They weren't very practical. So I started with removing the plastic handles and making good wooden handles for them. And it just grew from that. So I started to make knives in a more serious way. And at the moment, there was also this Puukko Club of Finland. They had this competition, knife-making competition started at the same time. So I started to participate in them and actually had some prizes there. And so it started from there. But at the moment, I didn't make my own blades because I was living in a dwelling in the middle of a city. So in 2004, I moved where I live now. I have a detached house, or what's a cottage, and I have my own shop. So now I could start to make my own blades. So from that, it has become also much more professional and much more interesting because I was able to make my own blades, which is in Finland. That's very important that you make everything, not just the handle and the sheath, but just also the blade.
Did I understand you correctly? You're taken in Finland seriously. Once as a knife maker, you also make your own blades, correct?
Yes.
Because, sadly, in Germany, many knife makers in Germany, many, not all, but many, don't make blades. They just make the handles and sheaths. And I personally fully agree with you. When you say you're a knife maker, you need to make everything. I agree with you. That's right.
There are, of course, many makers in Finland which make cheap knives. They sell it from 20, 30 or 40 euros, and they use ready-made blades. Yes. But they are not considered as real knife makers. They are just, they are more like small factory knives or something like that.
Yes. Okay, before we go ahead, tell us about puukko. I'm sure I don't pronounce it correctly because it's a Finnish term.
It's okay, it's puukko. It's very good, actually.
Okay, tell us about this. Before we go through your craft, tell us about the puukko. And you wrote also excellent books about the history, which is, I think, to my knowledge, one of the most comprehensive book on the history of puukko. Can you show your book, please, Anssi?
Oh, yes. It's first one here.
Yeah,
it's
wow.
a lot of pictures and measurements of the knives, so
yes,
that's very important. We have the second part.
Yes,
we have Sami knives and also
yes,
we have this German version.
Yes,
the English version is coming later this year, actually.
Where is it going to be published, the English version?
Schiffer Publishing is publishing it. You can pre-order it from Amazon or wherever.
Okay. Is it being published in Finland, the English version?
It's published by Schiffer internationally. So
okay. Internationally.
It's in English. But also we have reprints now coming for this. This has been out of print many years, but now at the end of this year we get reprints of the Finnish large books. So I'm very happy about that.
Very nice, very nice. Okay, tell us about a bit about this knife, puukko-knife. Tell us what it is, and could you tell us a bit about this, please?
Yes, well, puukko is a very simple traditional knife. For example, something like this. This is an old with birch bark handle. And it's usually, the blade is shorter than the handle. That's because then it's easier to use.
Yes.
Use the
tip.
the tip of the, sorry,
No problem.
English. So this is very important. It's very practical. For example, this birch bark, it's unbelievably comfortable and indestructible. So you can find old knives, even 100-year-old knives, where the blade has been rusted off, but the handle is still perfect because it's birch bark. So this is very typical of a Finnish puukko. It's very practical. You can do everything because Finns were very poor. They need a tool with what to make everything, like hunt. It was a hunting knife. You could do some whatever core you have. You can decorate things with the tip of this and stuff like that. In many other countries, you have knives that were only used for like eating.
Yes.
Like soft work, but this was made for hard work. You could build a house with this and an axe. Okay, axe and an puukko. You can do anything. Yes. So that was very important. Everybody had one, and everybody used it, and everybody knew how to use it. So it's a different. For example, in Central Europe, you have different knives for different things. But Finnish people, they lived in forest. They had to make everything, their own house, their own furniture, everything. And this was very important. So this is a perfect tool, perfect versatile tool to make basically anything.
Now, how old is this knife, Anssi, in your hand?
This is from the 19th century, somewhere like 1850s or so.
Oh, interesting. Yes.
And there are a lot of these in the museums. But I was actually the first one to study them scientifically with my books because nobody had studied the great collections before me, which was, I don't know why, but I was the first one to collect the great collection of the Finnish National Museum. They had many knives with good knowledge of them, but nobody had studied them seriously because somehow I think they have been afraid of studying because there is strong connection to violence with puukko in Finland. And somehow it had stopped the serious studying of it, I think.
Why violence?
Because many people, Finnish people, at least many years ago, when they got drunk, they started to fight with these and killing each other, and it was very awful. But and still that happens. But people forget that this is a tool. Yes. Usually nowadays, when some knives someone, it's called puukotus. So it sounds like somebody hit someone with puukko, but it actually happens with kitchen knives and some other folding knives. But they always call it like puukotus. You puukottaa something is you hit with a puukko or hit with a knife.
Okay, interesting.
So it comes from this puukko word.
Tell me, Anssi, what is the word for knife in Finnish?
It's veitsi.
So it's not puukko.
Yes, and that's. I think in Finland it's the only language that has different word for puukko, which is in any other country this is a knife, a simple basic knife. In Finland this is a puukko, and it had some qualities that differs it from other knives.
Ah, interesting. I understand. Okay. So you have a word for a general knife, and you have a word for puukko.
Yes.
Okay, I understand that. But if someone gets stabbed by a knife, it's stabbed by a puukko all the time.
Yeah, it's a verb like puukottaa. Like knife, it's not like you knife something. No, you puukko someone.
Oh, okay, interesting. Just regarding the law in Finland, is it allowed to carry a puukko on you?
No. But there is a slight. It says the law says that it's illegal to carry a knife unless you have a good reason for it.
Oh,
basically, that's the word. So So, for example, the builders and carpenters, if they walk on the street, they have a puukko on their belt. That's okay,
Yes,
because they're professionals.
of course.
I carry a puukko usually because I can say I'm a knife maker and I'm
Yes.
going to a construction site. I need the construction because of my work as an acoustic consultant. I need a knife all the time.
Yes.
So
Okay, I understand that. So then puukko was mainly, as I understand, as I understood you correctly, is mainly a tool, a working tool used for, or hunting tool, used for hunting, construction, also for eating possibly, also if needed, right? And
yes.
okay, now the question comes, or everyone is afraid of this question. Was puukko used for self-defense as well?
Oh yes, a lot.
A lot. Okay, it was
Yes,
used
but
for
it was the worst time was in the late 19th century in Osterbothnia near Vaasa in Turku. There was this kind of bullies in Vaasa districts, and they used a lot. They liked to fight with knives, but they didn't usually want to kill them. They just want to hurt them to show them they are tough guys. But that caused some problems. Then there was this very famous stories that one killing a lawman there and going to jail and stuff like that.
Okay.
But it's still, I think, in many countries people are afraid of Finns because they carry knives and they are afraid that they will stab them. Still, I think.
Excuse me, I know, you know me, I'm really always fighting in my professional career against stereotypes and so. But
Mm.
I remember when you go to Sweden or Denmark or Norway, they always say Finns carry knives, and then I always told them, I mean, how can you say that? Not all Finns carry knives, but there is a general opinion in the Scandinavian countries that Finns carry knives. I seriously don't know why.
I can tell you a story. My friend, very famous architect, he had projects in Denmark, and he was there with his friends. They were all architects, and they were in a saloon or whatever you call them. And they had fun. They talked loudly, and suddenly they noticed that everybody around them got quiet. And what's happening here? And then he realized they were all afraid because they were Finns that they're going to start fighting and throwing knives for each other. And it's architect, an artist. That's crazy. Yeah.
Crazy how
But there,
stereotypes.
I think because there are many immigrants, very like sailors, going to saloons and stuff, and they were easy picking up knives. Some at least like 20, 30, or 50 years ago, but not today. Not today.
Not today, of course. And did they hold the knives with the tip downward or like this?
Both. You can. This typical bit is very fast, of course, and very strong. But then you can also use it like this to cut and just to intimidate. So.
Are there any books recording techniques of fighting with puukko?
Not really. No.
No, they're not. Okay. Okay, let's go back to the blade construction. Let's go back. I mean, okay, we know that stainless steel was made in Sheffield. We know that, but then regarding the quality of the steel, puukkos are carbon blade, correct? Mostly.
Mostly, yes.
Most are carbon blade. Did they experiment in historical sense also with welded steel? Did they weld steel, or was it always carbon blade?
Well, they were welded, but it was not like Damascus style. But they used, because at least up to late 1860s, when it was very hard to get good quality steel, they used good quality high carbon content steel for the blade here, but then soft steel on the back of the blade. And
okay.
You can see them, but in the old puukko blades. But after, I think, 1870s or so, it was easier to get good Bessemer steel, for example, from Sweden and from Germany. So nowadays they are more like one steel construction.
Yes, right. So they used, of course, because back then they used to sandwich it like a high carbon for the edge, and the edge was sandwiched in a plate, which was the back and the side, of course, because, and when they got good steel, then they did it. the
And
monos.
there were a lot of different structures, not like not always like sandwich, like high carbon in the middle, but
Yeah.
high carbon below, and some other structures. Also, in some of the medieval knives in Finland, they had this more look like real Damascus, to have many layers, like 10 or 20 layers of steel, soft and hard steel. So, but very many layers. But they haven't studied them much in Finland. But in Sweden, they have studied some. They have studied medieval knives in England a lot. So I have used those studies in my books to show what kind of blades were in the Middle Ages and so on.
Oh, interesting. And our puukos, which are made today, they're mostly made of carbon steel, or do they also use welded steel, also stainless steel, different types of steel?
Yes, they use a lot of different style. For example, stainless powder steel like RWL34, which I use also for puukkos, and of course for hunting knives, it's a good steel. Some welded steel, Damascus style steels also, but not that often because it's mostly for looks. Also, the problem is, I can show you, when you do Damascus steel blade, because Finnish knives are sharpened, all the bevel of the blade, all of the bevel is sharpened because we had to have a wedge shape.
Yes.
So if you do a Damascus, then only
Can you bring it
part of
up,
the blade
please?
shows Damascus. So you can sharpen, if you do Damascus blade, you can sharpen it like you should a puukko knife. So whole of the bevel should be sharpened, and that removes the look of the Damascus, of course.
Yes, I understand that. I understand. Okay, what kind of materials do you use for the steel of your blades? Which is your favorite steel for the
Well,
blades?
I have basically two steels that I do nowadays. Other is mixed carbon steel, which is 80 CRV2.
Ah,
It's the name of the blade. It's very practical, and you can do it. You can heat treat it quite easily straight from the furnace and to oil, and you can do, as I always, with the puukko, you have to do differential or heat treating. So you heat treat it only from here.
can you
Sorry,
bring it up? Ah, yes.
yes, here. So only the cutting edge is. Sorry, I do a little bit like this.
Yes.
So you can put it like this.
Only the cutting edge
So,
you do.
yeah, so the back of the blade stays soft, so it won't break.
Yes.
So it's
Do you put it
zone tempering.
zone tempering? Do you put it in oil, or in what material do you put it?
In oil, in oil. That's a traditional way of it. Straight from the furnace, you look at the color. You can always check the degree by infrared, and then you just in an oil.
Yes.
You, I have to.
You harden it, you mean?
Yes, you harden it in oil. Yes, and differentially.
Yes.
And that's a traditional way, and it makes sure the blade might bend, but it won't break.
Okay. Just another question. Do you forge your blades with hammers, shape them?
Yes, mostly we make we forge the tang
Yes.
of the blade, because it's usually a through tang, so it's all the way
All
up
the
to
way.
the end of the handle.
Yes.
And then I can show you. Then part of the blade, it gets thinner going towards the tip.
Yes.
So it's a better balance, and it's more beautiful. But this sometimes you can leave hammered, so you see the
Yes.
hammering here. So it's more like to me it's more like a aesthetic thing. I think it's beautiful when it's hammered, but you can also do it by only grinding. It's still a good blade. Like for example here, it's all the way ground, and then hand with the 800 grit sandpaper.
Okay, perfect. And then the lengths of puukko. What are your favorite lengths of puukko?
Well, traditionally, the length of the blade is always shorter than the handle. So the handle is usually like 11 centimeters. So the blade is like 9 or 10 centimeters.
Okay.
These are more like hunting and wilderness. I call this wilderness puukko. So you have a longer blade, you can chop a little or something like that. But for traditional puukko, so the tip is, it doesn't get too far. So you can use it as driving something or making some.
Anssi, what do I have? This one you made from me. What is this?
Yes.
Which type is this?
This is a very traditional puukko, yes.
Okay, very traditional. It's for carving mainly?
It's for everything, yeah. It's whittling. You can carve wood in it, whittle, and use it as a small hunting knife or whatever.
Okay, understand that. And what kind of handle material or scabbard material, what kind of wood do you use for them?
Well, I like to use as many as I can because it's very fun to use different kinds of. Like nowadays, I usually use stabilized wood. So the wood is stabilized, so it doesn't
break,
move. It doesn't, yeah, and it doesn't
break.
Warp. So but now I use a lot of burl wood. So the burl of the wood. So like maple burl. This is maple burl.
Maple. Yeah, that's maple.
And other fine. I have used, I think, like 30, 40, or 50 different types of wood.
And you use, what kind of material do you use for the cap on the top of it, for the cap? What do you normally use?
Well, it might be sorry. My favorite nowadays is called Nikoros. It's like German silver or nickel silver, but it's harder and it doesn't get yellow.
Yes, so it doesn't. Beautiful.
It stays bright. So.
Can I see the knife? Can I see this knife, please?
Oh, sure. This is kind of a new thing to me. It's a carved ebony.
Wow.
So it's hand carved, but it's still quite comfortable. So it doesn't, still practical.
Can I see the whole knife? Can you go a bit back, please? Can you go a bit back? Bring it up, please, your hand. Oh, beautiful. That's really beautiful. Yeah, that's right.
It's something new. I like to try something new, and this I really like.
Yes. Anssi, did you also make experiments with longer blades, longer knives?
Yes, I like it because many clients like them, especially in Germany, where I go to a show. They like the larger knives. So
yes, I know.
I have something like this.
Yes, like this one. Yeah, exactly.
And with this, I have a fossilized horse shin bone, for example.
Yes.
That's a strange material. And this is stainless steel blade, actually. So these are nice, but these are mostly for collectors. I don't think many people use them, but.
Anssi, what's the reason that Finnish prefer shorter knives compared to Germans? What's the reason?
Practicality. It's practicality because very many people still use knives. Even my knives are being used for whittling, and you're making something out of wood. And then you don't need the longer blade. It's useless.
Of course, useless. Absolutely.
Much easier to use a shorter blade.
Yes. Anssi, do you also use do you make kitchen knives? Good kitchen knives? Have you ever made them?
I've made some, but the ones I made had a Japanese blade, a very good deba blade or something like that. I just make the handle, but I haven't made all of the kitchen knives. It's very interesting though, because sometimes clients ask for them, and I know many Finnish puukko makers nowadays make kitchen knives also. So it's that I have a model that I haven't tried yet, but I have a design for a kitchen knife, but I haven't made it yet. Because
puukko is a very sturdy blade, so for kitchen knife it should be not that thick. Am I correct?
Yes.
That's right. I mean,
unless it's a Japanese deba style, which is like straight from one angle, then like this. It's very quite thick, but the grinding is very straight, so it actually the end is very thin. But usually, you like 2 millimeters or even less is okay for kitchen knife.
Anssi, so I know it's a very dumb question, but I need to ask it. Puukko cannot be used in the kitchen, correct?
Oh, can be, yes. I have a puukko in kitchen. Yes,
You have,
you can
okay.
cut bread and everything with it. Yes, no problem.
Yeah, of course, you know, I mean, it's just
But I usually use kitchen knives more, I have to say.
that's
But
right.
in the older days, people used it for eating. They didn't have a fork. They have only this puukko, and then they carved everything. They put the knives, and then they even used this as a fork, like putting things to your mouth.
That's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, and can you show us some of the examples you made and explain them to us? That would be very fascinating.
Sure. So this is a quite typical
Yes,
puukko knives.
beautiful. Yes.
And this is the style I nowadays use, and it's the same with your knife because
Yes.
I have designed this. I spent a long time of designing this sheath, especially the sheath style. So I have always. I think it's very important how it looks when it's in the sheath. So I have the same ferrule or whatever you call it here as in here. So
Yes.
this strengthens the connection between the leather. And this is always, usually I use the same wood here, even
Yes.
from the same piece of wood. So I think it's very aesthetically pleasing.
Magnificent.
And it's very strong. So this is the style I use.
What kind of blade did it have?
So this is a forced mixed carbon steel.
Oh.
So it has a forced, this, what's it called? You know, when I talk English, I keep forgetting the words. It's difficult sometimes, but yes. But anyway, I have this just hammered and forged, and this. But also, it's nice to have all. This is hand ground with 800 grit paper, so
yes.
that's a nice satin finish then.
Yes.
And also, I've tried a bit more these new forms. So, for example, this is very handy.
It's indented, right?
Yeah, so
Indentation, yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Or something, you don't hurt yourself. So, and then I have this folding puukko knives.
Oh, you have a folder. Yeah.
Yes. But this is like more fancy one. This has Damascus parts here, which is
Yes.
different type of titanium.
It's like the so-called balisong style.
It's balisong style. It's basically the same structure, and if you loosen the screws, you can do this if you like.
Yes.
It's an older one. You can do this.
Yes.
So it works like a balisong if you like, but I keep it these a bit tight so people wouldn't try to. It might scratch the blade.
Yes, absolutely.
But these are like I like these.
You know that balisong style is now forbidden in California, in Germany, in many places now. You know
that was very awful because I couldn't bring these to German knife show.
No, you can't.
But in Italy, I was supposed to go to Italy this year, but then the corona came. But in Italy, you can bring balisong style.
France as well.
Yeah.
France as well.
In France, I was in France in a big show last year, and there I have this.
Yes, no problem. I mean, it's legislation, as we know, is different from one country to the other.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I like designing these because this I have to design with AutoCAD. It's very, very precise.
Yes, absolutely.
Styling.
Beautiful.
So this is aluminum.
It's aluminum, yes.
And it goes with magnets. It locks with magnets. It's very different from an ordinary. It locks with magnets too.
Huh,
And then
never
you have
seen
this
that.
little fin here
Yes,
that locks it. And
beautiful.
also, when you cut it in the sheath, there's a, oh, this is a wrong, there's a magnet there. So
This is unbelievable. I've never seen that before.
yeah, I like this. It's been a long way to design. Also, this is one more.
This is beautiful. I mean, you're an engineer as well, so your skills in
Well, I am an
engineering.
architect, so so this
Yes,
is what I like
exactly.
to do, to design this, and then
Right. Absolutely. Oh, that's interesting. Yes.
yeah, this is what I like to do. And it's fun to do something with your hands because I do computer work all day with acoustic design. So this is very important for me, and I take it
Um,
seriously.
do
Also,
you?
I have to mention, I don't know if you know, but a couple of years ago, I graduated as a master bladesmith.
Yes, I remember that. Yes.
So that was very fun. So no, it's pretty serious nowadays. So you have to be very careful how you finish this. So I'm getting paranoid about everything. It has to be perfect, and oh, this isn't quite right. And it takes a lot of time to make
Uh,
everything. Try to make it perfect. Nothing is perfect, but still you have to try.
Honestly, I have another question. Did Finnish uses axes as well for work and so
Oh
handmade
yes,
axe?
oh yes. Axe and a knife. That was basic tools. So we have very many types of axes. We have 50 or 100 types of different axes in the 19th century, because
Have
they
you
built their own houses with wood for large wood. So yes,
have you also made axes yourself, Anssi?
no, that I haven't.
You
I
haven't.
don't know many people do that. No,
No. And do you have you done an research on Finnish axes or puukko?
just Puukko. Yeah,
Just puukko, no Finnish axes. Okay,
no.
okay.
There are
Uh,
some books about Finnish axes. I have the books though, but I'm actually not that interested because it's more like timbering and cutting trees and something like that. This is more personal.
I understand that. I understand that. Okay, just another question. Just are there any puukkos which have jewels worked on them, like stones and things like that?
Well, I have, just wait for a moment. I
Tell me,
don't
please.
know. There are some jewels in folding puukko-knives. I know. For example, they have a abalone insert.
Yeah.
This is the same type of folding knife as the others. So sometimes it's nice to make something real fancy.
Yes, that's right.
And there are some, but I don't. If you put a jewel in a puukko, it kind of, how to say it.
Contradiction.
It's a tool. It's a contradiction because it's a tool. I'm sure some people have made them. I know there have been, even in the 19th century, early 20th century, when the masters of Puukko, they made some uh, presents to the Tsar, for example. They had some gold in them, but
Yes,
not jewels, but gold they had, and something like that. But usually it's considered to be too flashy or something like that. It
of
doesn't
course.
fit in a book. Yeah.
That's right. I understand that. I fully understand that. Okay, thank you, Anssi. Do you want to add anything else to our discussion today?
Well, for all the English readers, I can remind me that my first book is now coming in English. You can find it in Amazon, Puukko, by the name of Puukko. So there you can find more information about Finnish Puukko and stuff like that.
Absolutely. It's the best decision to have your book now in English because then you're going to have an international market opening for you, right? As we
Hopefully,
know,
yes.
yeah, I'm sure I guarantee you that because, I mean, Finnish definitely, but even German, it might seem that German, because I live in Germany, I also, as you know, write and speak in German as well. But mostly I do everything in English because English is the lingua franca, is the language of the
Mm.
world. I mean, there is no no doubt about that. So I'm sure many other opportunities are going to open for your book, and many more people are going to read your book. That's the wonderful thing. It's the best decision. Very good thing. Thank you very much, Anssi. It's beautiful knives you have shown us, and this is, I'm sure many people are going to appreciate that. Thank you very much, and I wish you a nice day, Anssi.
Thank you so much, Manoj. It was a pleasure to talk with you. Thanks.
Thank you.